Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everyone? My name is Sky Hart, and I'm a senior tech BD at Amazon Web Services, and I get to work with global startups. Welcome to our second episode of Founders of the Future, where each month my co host Datia and I get to chat with an amazing founder building what's next. In this episode today, we will be examining agentic AI and why people might be calling it the year of the agent. And no, it's not secret agents, but tell us where you're calling in from, wherever you might be in the world. Drop a comment to us, say hello, tell us why you're here, and yeah, tell us where you are. And before we get into it, I'm going to pass to my co-host, Datia.
That's right, Sky. Dottie Tosin, based out of Austin, Texas. Excited to be here today. Excited to be discussing all things agents. We do have a special guest coming to talk with us about everything about AI and agents and basically building agentic workflows. Yeah, Sky, you mentioned 2025 is the year of the agent, right? We've had like digital teammates joining us, which are basically agents. I'm excited to say, indeed, it is crazy. I'm excited to say our guest is not an agent, but he's basically the founder of a company building agents. He's my friend. He's the CEO and co-founder of CrewAI. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Joe to the podcast.
Get in here, Joe. Get in here, Joe. He's a living legend.
Hey there, everyone. So excited to be here. Sky, Dr. thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about this. And oh boy, I can talk about AI agents for weeks. We're going to have a problem kind of like putting a stop to this conversation because there's so much going on out there.
Let's go, Joe. Let's go.
It is insane. The good thing, though, and I think there is a good and a bad to that, right? And I know we haven't kicked things off yet, but there's a good and a bad. One, there's a lot going on. Everyone wants to talk about agents. That's great. But the problem is when I try to put myself on kind of like everyone else's shoes, like either engineers trying to crack this or executives trying to make decisions about how to go about this, the noise and signal, it's kind of like hard to parse. So if anything, I love the fact that we're having this conversation here. I think it's going to be great.
Well, let's get started. Let's dive right in. What are agents? First of all, before you even answer that, right? When we think about agents, are we talking about 007? Or what are we talking
secret
about?
Agent? Yes. Joe actually is a secret agent, not just the founder of Crew. What does everyone in the chat think an agent is? Quiz already.
I cannot confirm nor deny that. I think honestly, like, what is an agent? That's a great question. Many people come to us as a company, or kind of like when I meet them at events, they usually throw me that question. What is an actual agent, right? In the end of the day, I think people like they try to complex, they make the answer too complex. For me, it boils to a simple thing, and that is agency. So in the end of the day, if your AI model, your LLM, is actually deciding what happens next into the application flow, if they're going to use a tool, if they're going to send an email, if they're going to search Google, if the AI is taking that decision, then you have agency, and therefore is an agent. So that would be my definition. Now, does that mean that the agents are the automation that solves it all? No. The same principles from engineering that kind of like took us here are still valid. And one of them are KISS, right? That basically is like, what is the minimum that I can get away with given my system requirements? So if you don't need an agent, don't do an agent. There's a spectrum there. But that's my definition of what an agent would be.
And if we don't need an agent to, if we do, I feel like there's so much hype about agentic AI from the developer who's trying to build and automate a workflow that they've done a million times to the enterprise customers across different industries trying to say, how do we actually build agentic workflows for teams and organizations and people? And so I feel, even personally reading the news, a little bit lost in the sauce on which type of agent platform is best for me. How do I even start? And so what do you think about how people are actually using agentic AI today in the real world?
Yeah, so I can talk to you a little bit about this. One, it's insane. Right now, we are running an average of 300 million agent workflows a month. Like 2 months ago, that was 60 million. That is 300 million today. That's insane. So what we're seeing out there is, again, it seems that from at the early days, you go back like a year ago, everyone was jumping, at least like the more progressive companies and engineers were jumping straight into agents, building agents and building agents. Right now, people realize that agents are great, but they are very, very probabilistic systems. Like you don't know much what they're going to spew out. So your ability to add controls so you get consistent results are like a key to do something that is actually production ready. So what I'm seeing there in terms of patterns nowadays for people that are being successful is kind of like opt-in agency. So they build an automation. In our case, that we're seeing them building using CrewAI flows that it basically allows you to, it's kind of like a very low level control framework for building automations. So you build that flow. And then if you want to add a single LLM call, you can do it. If you want to add a single agent, you can do it. And if you want to add an entire group of agents or a crew that's going to be working together, you can. But is that ability to opt in on like, oh, for this use case, this makes sense, or that makes sense, or maybe I do in this order. That seems to be what is getting people from POC to production deployment. So that's the way that I'm seeing that pattern evolve over time. But yeah, there's a lot of hype and noise out there.
Yeah, and I know it from like a tooling service basis, right? Like it might include a web search action or a database query action or like a custom developer function that they're deploying. What are some like actual tangible use cases that you see that they build agent, like setting up meetings or research, or what, like how do people grasp on to use it that might not be as technical?
Well, I gotta say, either like we classify use cases in kind of like a matrix that has two axes. One axis is complexity and the other one is precision. So you can have high complexity, high precision, or low complexity, low precision, or something in between. So what we see is most of the companies and people usually go for let's crawl, walk, and run. So low complexity, low precision first. And that usually means back office use cases, either sales or marketing or
note-taking,
note-taking is a good one, but a lot of support, IT help desk, things that like you can get off the ground very quickly and you can showcase value. But a few companies go straight for high complexity, high precision. And again, we help those companies as well. There's an angle there, but eventually they work their way to that. But they start with simpler use cases and then expand from there.
What's a high complexity? Give me like the highest complexity. Like,
all right, so
whole company built on Crew agent.
A high complexity, high precision use case is one that we are actually spend a lot of time building and thinking with Capgemini. That was they want for a bank to fill IRS forms automatically. But this is not your regular IRS form that like you and I do. It's a 70-page long form. So it starts like that, like it's insane.
I thought my taxes were hard. Okay.
Yeah, but if you're not, it comes with an instruction manual on how you should fill each and every single field. That manual has 720 pages long. So why that is complex and precise? Well, it is precise because the data needs to be right. And not only that, there's a manual that describes exactly how you should fill up that, like each data point. And the complexity comes like you need to grab all this data, and this data is going to be in many different data sources. So the agents need to be able to write queries, parse documents, connect to RAG like events. So it can get very complex.
Wow. And they all have to be working in synchrony too, to feed off of each other into the workflow.
And reliably.
And in a loop.
But Joy, I think you're hitting at like a really important point, right? So my CPA does my taxes, right? And taxes are very complicated. So this is going to be, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you trying to tell every CPA out there that basically CrewAI is taking their job? Or let me phrase it in a better way. Like, do you see?
We're already getting into the hot takes, huh, Dottie? We told it we were going to be honest.
Let's do it. 10 minutes in, we're getting in. Do you see like agents taking over like, complex and precise jobs from just a professional standpoint? Where do you see the professional fitting into the world of agents?
I think like, so here's my thoughts, right? I think this goes into a broader question that everyone has. That is like, is an AI agent going to take my job? It's like, is that where things are going? And I can see how people can draw that conclusion, because if you see the rate of progress, right, you go back like 2 years ago and no one was talking about agents, and now you see they doing like kind of like some crazy stuff. Like if you put together, and I'm not even talking about CrewAI where you can do very custom stuff. You go to kind of like the regular ChatGPT and you use operator and you use deep research, like there's people that are paid to do things like that. So it's easy for you to project like, hey, if we keep this rate, or even if this rate increases, what's going to happen in 2-3 years from now? My take and what I tell people is, and I'm going a little bit on a tangent here. It's more psychology than anything.
I mean, everyone's asking this question. For people who are just tuning in, we're asking, are agents going to take our jobs? Which is a hot topic in the industry right now. We're hearing directly from the founder of CrewAI, who is probably the best person to answer this, or the worst. I don't know if there's bias.
So here's my honest take on how I think about it is, I think we as people have way less control of our future than what we believe we do. Like you might think about like, oh, I have control over my future and how it's going to look like. Honestly, you don't. You have control over certain things, but you never know, right? Like things happen that are like beyond of like your reach. So if AI is going to take your job, yes or no, I don't think anyone can answer that for you. And even if they could, like what it could do about it. Now, there's a few things you can do, right? For example, you can decide whether you use those tools and these technologies and you got good at that or not. So there's a version in the future, it doesn't matter what this future is because you don't control it, where either you're going to be great at using AI or you will know nothing about it. I think that independently of what the future turns out to be, the version of you that's great at AI is better set up for success. So my advice is like, just get great at using AI. And I think like, I think Jensen said something recently that kind of like maps to that as well.
Yeah, he said, start getting to use AI because someone, basically. But Andre just said in the channel, agents will take a lot of jobs and robots will, but there will be new jobs created. And I think, Jensen just said this recently on a note, basically saying that you will not get your job taken, but you might get it taken by someone who will be using AI. So I always talk whenever I'm talking to like college students or something like that. I'm like, think about what the industry is that you're joining and think about how you can adopt AI to further that industry in the next 5 years, 10 years. Like, is that using agentic systems? Is that getting really creative with how you use AI in that, whether that's legal, doctors, you know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, not too far off, but like now that we're talking about it, I can give you a real example in CrewAI. So in CrewAI, we have like we do these interviews for hiring engineers, right? And on the interview, like we make abundantly clear that they're allowed to use anything. ChatGPT, Cursor, Cloud Code, you name it. None of that is blocked. If they don't use it, we don't hire them. We kick them off. It's a basic way that we rule them out. So if you don't use AI in the interview because you want to sound cool and like
interesting,
AI, we actually cut you off.
That's a hot take. Okay, interviewers and professors out there, he's saying if you don't use AI, you fail. That's wow. If I had it in college, guys.
It's funny. I was talking to my professor and I was like, if I had AI in college, I would have like literally like spent a lot more time exploring Brussels than actually like studying. But let's switch gears here.
Get back into agents. We could keep going.
Let's talk about your agentic workflows. Like how are you thinking about your tech stack? You mentioned your engineers are basically like leveraging the AI tools out there, but fundamentally, how you're thinking about building your tech stack?
Yeah, I gotta say there is an idea of a tech stack for agents that are popping up, and we're seeing this pattern, right? Like independently of what company it is, there is always like an element of connecting to data and data sources. So I'm not even talking about software or APIs. I'm talking about raw data. A lot of these companies, they have data lakes, right? So you might have a bunch of data in Redshift in AWS, and how do you tap into that, right? So that is one thing that is crystallizing very clear. It's like, I don't care what I'm using. I do want to make sure that it's connecting to my data. Then on top of that, you have a few other things that are stacking, right? You have this idea of the LLMs, and no one wants to get a vendor lock. People don't want to use one single LLM. They understand there are certain LLMs that are betting at coding, certain LLMs that are betting at reasoning. They want to use many at the same time.
Mhm.
So LLMs, then you're going to have the orchestration, and that's kind of like where we CrewAI really excel and kind of like
Mhm.
where we do most of our business. And then you have like a few other pieces. You're going to have memory, you're going to have authentication, you're going to have
Mhm.
connectors. And I think on the bottom up of the stack, it's kind of like a agentic apps, right? Is like in the end, these agents are great. Some of them are going to run in background. They're just going to be background
Mhm.
agents. But some you want to have an interface, and that interface is either going to be a chat or it's going to be a Trello-like board, a Jira-like board, something you can share with other people.
Interesting.
So I think that's kind of like roughly the stack. So I would say it's mostly 5 layers. So you can think data management, orchestration, um, um, authentication, observability, and the UI.
Yeah. You just said something that was really interesting, that there's actually different types of agents for different purposes. I feel like everyone just blankets agents are agents are agents. And so what do you think about like more like the graph-based or event-driven agents, or like how do people start to think about what types of agents are out there and what's right for me?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if people are really thinking about it, what they're trying to do is an automation, right? And
Mhm.
they're trying to leverage an LLM to kind of like make this self-healing, self-improving, and ability to handle anything that you throw at that in real
Yeah.
time. So before, if you're doing this with regular code, you would do a lot of if this then that, right? And if this then that can be graph-based, can be events-based. There's so many different techniques.
Mhm.
I'm not a huge fan of graph based, just because if you really think about it, like for the engineers in the room, they might know that like you can 20 years to an engineering career and never touch a graph. Like
Mhm.
unless you're working with like a social networks or graph
Mhm.
databases for whatever reason, you don't really know like node edges and all that.
Mhm.
So I think there's a high kind of like there's a step up that you need to learn. It's a higher entry bar for you to learn graph agents. But I think event-based systems are a little better on that because that is more
Mhm.
second nature for most engineers. Like, oh, this emits an event, and then something else kind of like monitors that. But I think again, this idea of either graphs or events-based systems are kind of like a foundational layer for the automations for you to choose. All right, now in this specific moment, I want an agent, or in this
Yeah.
specific moments, I want to do an LLM call. And this is the pattern that we're seeing now. We launched CrewAI Crews first, so ability to have many agents working together, and we saw people building amazing things with that. And then we realized this pattern that we build CrewAI flows, so people can build the flow and then have agents in different spots. And that's kind of like what we're seeing
Wow.
most of using
Teaser.
now.
We gotta go see that. But before, I want to know, everyone in the chat, tell us how you are using agents, if you've tested it, where you're at in your journey. Are you trying to build workflows like I am? Are you an expert like Joe? Are you a fan like Dati? I'm just kidding. You're probably an expert, Dati.
Hey, I just need to get an autograph, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. I
Yeah.
gotta say, there's a few places that like AI agents is so hot right now that it got a little weird.
Yeah.
I had a few events that I had to go in like the back door. Like I couldn't get out because people like want to take pictures and ask questions. And I appreciate that. It's great, right? It's just a weird feeling. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean you look at Jensen with like rockstar jacket. I guess like AI now is making the new rock stars or whatever. Like I don't know what's
You've got
happening.
a rock star stuffed animal behind you. I don't know. Okay, wait.
Hey,
So there's some use cases that people are talking about. Alexander Headland thinks one typical use case will be nano learning agents embedded in digital products. That's an interesting use case.
I like that. I think what he refers as nano learning agents. I do think that there's a trend in the future. It's not happening right now, but I think there's going to be a trend in the future for like more compact
Mm,
agents. What I mean by that is the small models, maybe fine tune. They're going to be way cheaper. They're going to be way more precise. They're going to run
yeah.
faster. I think they will unlock a lot of these use cases, especially like the closer you can run them to the edge, the better as well. Different
It's
use
interesting.
cases,
Tiny
overlaps with
little baby secret
robotics.
agents. Very small secret agents. All right. Alicia Liberto, thank you. Beginning my journey, you're using it in Photoshop for background content and creation. That's pretty
Okay,
cool. That's really neat.
that's
I
really
love
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe,
Replacing traditional website search with an agent-based flow. I use it in life science for cancer treatment. And
oh wow.
Miles would like to collaborate with you, Joe. That's pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So building you, there's so many in programmers' jobs, in building using agents with Claude Code, agents for code modernization. Wow.
Yeah, I gotta say, code modernization is definitely a hot topic. I
Yeah.
think like what Cursor, Windsurf, and all these different kind of like cloud code, right? I think what they're highlighting is like, well, these things are good at generating code. But then you have a few companies that they have very specific ways that they want to write code. So they build like they now are pursuing like, can I create my own version of this? But it's just great at that specific language that I care about on that specific way that I care about. It's a major use case we have with PwC actually. So they have CrewAI agents now basically building ABAP and APAX applications, so Salesforce and SAP automatically, what is insane if you ask
Wow.
me.
That's so cool. I think we should like, first of all, I know who you are, Joe. I've been following Crew for a long time. I know Dottie is a good friend of yours, but I think we should back up and like talk a little bit about what this amazing company you have built. I mean, it's one of the leaders in the space for agentic AI, and I want people to know what it does and what your story was and how you built this thing.
Yeah, like I think specifically you should talk about just like what prompted it, right? Like I know I met you in New York, before you became a rock star, before everyone wanted the autograph. But what prompted it? You hinted at about how you like launched a new product. Like, what were the early signals you saw? How you went about fundraising? Like, tell us the story.
Tell us your secrets. Yeah.
I will. And the autograph was only one, so I'm not a rock star just yet. But Jensen needs to remember
whoever has Joe's autograph, how much are you selling it for? Only one time.
Yeah. So let me think about it. Well, there's a few things. When it started. Well, before doing CrewAI, I have been an engineer for over 20 years. So engineer at heart, always have been playing with all these short things. And I was working in another company before where I was a director in there for all AI projects and enterprise products that was called Clearbit, that eventually got acquired by HubSpot. So during 5 years, all the way to the acquisition, I was actually heads down helping build a lot of these AI initiatives and the enterprise product that they had. And this was great. I had a lot of fun doing that. And we got to do some of like super fancy stuff early days. So now everyone's doing RAG and all that, but we're doing like no one was talking about it. And
what year was this?
I joined on I want to say 2017. So that was around 2022, like early days when ChatGPT was coming out. We were already like using, I think we were one of the first 10 accounts for ChatGPT business. So that was how early we were, like was very early. So I was doing some of that stuff and having a lot of fun with that. After the acquisition, I was like, you know what? I think I have enough of like wrangling with data. One of these things that I have been playing with is agents. I want to maybe start doing something with that. And my wife was the one that actually did it, that basically prompted me to it. She was like, hey, you know what? You should start like posting more on social networks. So as any engineer would do, I was like, let me automate that. So let me see if I can build agents to help with it. So I built a few agents, I feed them knowledge. It was a very manual process. Back then, there was no like major frameworks, right? So I just did everything very manually, a lot of coding. And it worked. It was insanely good. And I was like, you know what? I got hooked. I want to automate my life away. So I started building more agents. And then I realized that I was rewriting code over and over. So I was like, maybe I should build a framework to help like me not rewrite this code so many times. And that's how CrewAI started. It was an open source framework that really took off. It was a very opinionated framework, and many people liked those opinions. And then from that point on, companies reached out. We realized there was a lot of gaps in there between the framework and bringing things to production. And we start to go commercially with our enterprise offering. And right now working with US Department of Defense, Royal Bank of Canada, and many other companies in between.
Joe, it's really interesting, right? Because you went from this early stage startup, right, to like selling directly to enterprises and also to the public sector, right? Typically, a lot of startup founders don't experience that, don't see that
within like a year, right? Like how quick?
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
what's the secret sauce there? Like, you know,
I mean, I gotta say, I think there's a few things. One, the companies came to us, right? So what happened was I'm in the Bay Area. I went into an event in the Fairy Beauty, and then this random person comes to me and say like, "Hey, we're using CrewAI and we're trying to deploy in production. I could use some help." I was like, "Oh,
Mm,
that's great. I'd love to help. Who are you?" And he was like, "Oh, we are Oracle." And I was like, "Wait, if Oracle is coming to me and asking for help to deploy this, there's something there."
yeah.
So there was some of that. And then the other thing is, again, I had been building enterprise software for the past 5 years. So I was kind of like already in that
yeah.
mental model. And then when you start to hire the team, you start to hiring around that and then really start to work out. So basically, from that point on, I think we start with smaller customers and we start to expanding from there. And it's funny because we are seeing the market evolve. Like early days, right? And this is going to be interesting. So when you create a new startup, let's say you create a new
Mhm.
SaaS startup,
Mhm.
right? Every customer that you close, especially if it's a crowded market, let's say you create a customer support startup. Every customer
Yeah.
you close, it's a customer that you're stealing from someone. They're
Yeah.
canceling someone else to buy you.
Mhm.
That's not what's happening with AI agents. Like
Hmm.
there is no vendor for AI agents. So it's a new industry. Like when we close a customer, they're not canceling someone else. Sometimes they are, but like it's tangential. But mostly they're like, you're a new thing.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of educational in there. People don't know why they're buying, how it
Interesting.
works,
Yeah.
how to measure value. So education has been big. But hey, these are just some like brushes
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
on the
kind of getting
story.
into like the adoption pattern. And Sai Pavan Kumar also has an interesting question. How can we consider which agentic framework we should use for a specific agentic project? Because there's so many frameworks. And I would love to know, like, kind of to dovetail off of enterprise adoption of these components. It's like you have a project or an enterprise need, you've identified that need. Let's say it's I want to automate, I don't know, my entire recruitment pipeline of like identifying candidates, bringing them into the fold, all that stuff. How do people go from this POC, I have an idea, to adopting into the enterprise system, which is a hard chasm to cross? It's like they're interested, they want to touch the new technology, they want to get their hands on it, they want to be the first one, but there's a gap because it's new. So how are
Yeah.
they going to see the ROI? How are they going to see the value? And how are they going to actually implement it?
Well, first thing, that's a use case that we actually see. And depending where you are in Europe, you cannot do that. It is illegal. So there you have it. But yeah,
Table regulatory. There's some healthcare
Yeah.
regulatory. Tune
yeah,
in
no,
for our
that's
episode
stable.
2, compliance.
Table that for somewhere. So there you go. Just interesting information. Like, but yeah, AI on HR is a little tricky in certain countries, but we have seen that use case. It's very interesting with CrewAI. I gotta say, in the end of the day, I think the idea it's very easy to have. Then the prototype is extremely easy to build. And as you said, there
Mhm,
is a huge gap between the
mhm,
prototype and production. So it's funny because we see companies go through this journey. When they come to us and they are on their teenage years of AI agents, they're trying everything out there. It's interesting because the questions are always super technical. It's always like, oh, how we do memory, how we do this RAG connection, how we do this and now that. And by the questions, we already know they're early in their journey, even though it's very
mhm.
savvy questions, right? But the
Mhm.
thing is, a lot of those questions are becoming table stakes. And maybe it's a hot take, but yeah, memory. So what? You got to have it. There's 50 ways that you can do it. And that's okay. But then we notice when companies go into the realization phase, and it's either because like a few things are happening. Either like they realize, all right, we're gonna have hundreds of this in X amount of time, or maybe they're like, hey, my team is already building it and I don't have control over it. I'm freaking out. And then the
Ah,
questions change and they kind of like go to that cast, right? Oh, how we deploy this? How we make it secure? What about
guardrails.
governance?
Yeah.
Guardrails and how we're gonna like migrate this.
Because you
And
can't
it
just
is
let a bunch of agents loose in your enterprise either,
Yep.
which is a scary thought. It's a
I
scary
mean, you
thought.
can, but like, but yeah, at the end of the day, there's like all those questions pop up, right? And those questions are way chunkier and more meaty because it's not only about the tech, It's
Yeah.
about like how you implement some of these. So what we usually see is that pattern. People come with an idea, we show them CrewAI. They probably are already using it because they're engaging with us, so they already come from the open source. Then we show kind of like, hey, here's the enterprise and kind of like how it helps you kind of like basically cover all those kind of like gaps.
Yeah.
And they say like, oh, this is great. Can we get one use case running? And say like, yes, for sure. So we got one use case running. Sometimes they already build it. Sometimes we build with them. So, for example, we have people that were flying to Korea to help customers there, to India to help customers there, just to get them started, because it's a different kind of developing applications, right? So again, education is a part of this. And then most of the times they start walking with their own leg. So we have customers that went like from 1,000 executions for over 80,000 in 2 weeks. Just like they got the hang of it, and then they expand. And same way, we have deals that started very small, 10x, like deals that started like at like say mid 5 figures go to high 6 figures in like 2 quarters. Because it feels a lot like data lakes in the early days.
Yeah.
Like when data lakes were created and people create this name, no one knew what they were, like they didn't know how to buy it. But once that they got the taste, expansion happened very quickly and adoption happened very quickly.
Yeah, that's super interesting. You said you show it to them, and I'm kind of itching to see it. I don't know about you folks in the chat. We're also just getting really amazing technical questions in the channel that I feel like we should just dive a layer deeper and see an agentic workflow created in action and be a little bit more tangible. So if you have technical questions for Joe, please drop them in the channel, and I'd love to see it in action. Joe, sorry to put you on the spot. I hope that's
No. I can show you. Here, I have it open. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Share.
Do we drum roll here?
I don't know.
It's gonna be a little messy, but bear with me. I promise it's gonna be worth it. Let me know if you're seeing my screen. Oh, you see my screen.
Let's go.
So here, this is an account that we actually use. So if you actually see, there's many use cases in here: following up with email, support tickets, preparing for meetings, content marketing, reviewing code, monitoring our infrastructure in AWS. There's a lot in there. But
are these demos, or this is what Crew? Wait,
no,
this is mine. This is what Crew uses inside of Crew.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this we are actually using. I cannot open because there's going to be some PII in there and it's going to flash people's emails. So I don't want to do it. But we do use those.
There's a technical roadmap question. We're going to actually get to drop you some information, but let's tease that out. Stay on to get to see his roadmap.
Let me jump straight into some of the new features we're about to launch. We're going to launch this probably in early September. We already have customers trying it out, and it's lights out. It's insane.
You guys are the first people seeing this in action, right? Yeah.
Breaking news.
Yeah, in this setting is yes, we have some customers trying it out, but this is new. The internal name is Studio V2, but it's going to have a better name. So here's what it looks like.
Tell us what you think you should name it in the channel.
The idea here is for the engineers out there, you probably know like all the code assistants. This is kind of like that for agents, but for non-technical people. So if you want to build kind of like an agent, the way that you could do is you can drag and drop things, right? So drag your agent, you drag your task, you drag an integration like box, and you can just connect those things.
Confluence, GitHub.
Yeah, there's a lot in
different
there.
Integrations. Gmail, look at that.
Gmail, Calendar, HubSpot, Jira. There's a lot in there. But then the coolest thing is, let's say that you're not into drag and drop, right? You're like, oh, drag and drop. Like again, it makes for amazing screenshots, but it can be kind of like mind-boggling a little times.
Yes.
You can chat your way into a use case. So you mentioned sales use case. This is very simple. So let's say that I want to build a use case for taking sales meetings. So I can say, hey, given someone's email.
Joe, is this built on LangChain? Someone asked in the channel.
No, the fun thing is all this is built on Crew. So this is Crew running on CrewAI Enterprise, powering a feature on CrewAI Enterprise that builds you a crew. So it's full inception.
Yeah, full inception.
So given someone's email, research them, their company, then cross any relevant information from HubSpot, And let's say,
Tarek said it's better than writing on YAML, and I'd have to agree. I think how would you do this before we had a chat function, Joe?
well, you would like, if you're a technical person, you would basically need to create this with code. What we use YAML
Crazy.
for, so you could use YAML to define all this. But the cool thing is here, and you're going to see this in a second, after you create, you can actually download the code.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So let's say that on top of HubSpot, I also say cross with any emails. We exchange it in Gmail and give me a final report for an initial sales call. So there's a lot of typos in there, but that's okay. That should still work. So this is in beta, so bear with me. But no, this is entirely built on top of CrewAI. So what is happening in here, there's agents that are actually now looking for tools that they should use, checking if we have like a tool for HubSpot, checking if we have a tool for Gmail, and then starts building the thing. So you can see build a first agent, a prospect research specialist that can actually search with Google, a HubSpot analyst that is already connected to HubSpot, a Gmail specialist connect with Gmail. And cool thing is you look at it in the Gmail here, like it's already connected and you can see there's a lot of granular permissions. So even if this LLM like hallucinates, right, and it's not able to kind of like, it tries to send an email, it will never be able to because it don't have permission for that.
The security considerations that are built in. That's really, also, we just got our first name suggestion, CrewAI.
I love that.
Give us name suggestions for this V2 that we're launching right now.
I love that. And again, you mentioned the security. I think like the permissions is one aspect, but we allow you to control those permissions on different levels. You can control the organization level, you can control the role-based level. But there you go. It built it out. It has the research, HubSpot, the Gmail, and the sales. And I can run it from here. I can click on play and just say, let me be silly here. Say I'm meeting myself for whatever reason. And I click execute. So now you see it's running. So if you are a less technical person, and you're like, all right, I built this, I want to see it's running, you can hang in here and it's going to show you kind of like a progress. It's going to show like, hey, this is running, this is busy. And once it's done, you can see the individual results of the task. But you can actually go into the executions if you're more technical and you can see everything happening. You can see the prompts, you can see the raw data, you can see the research.
You see the code too? Yes, you can. Like there was a question in the channel too. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so if you want to, you can click in this button and you download the code. Like it's your IP in the end of the day. So you download it. So there you go. The first task is done. Let's check that out. Found me from my LinkedIn profile, my GitHub profile, founder and CEO of Crew.
It's like record time on a stream too. That is ridiculous.
The details on the company, recent news. We just had this major partnership with PwC announced 2 days ago. Me talking on conferences. Yeah, there you go. Links on for YouTube interviews. So there's a lot in there.
Wow.
And then again,
this is really cool.
Going through the thing. It's pretty nice, right? And you can publish this. And sorry, I just need to show this final thing. I know I'm getting so excited, but you can publish this. And once
we love technical founders. Look how excited he is.
Once that you actually publish the other thing, you're like, all right, now this become an API. So what I can do with that? Well, you can actually just click in options here and you can export as an MCP server. You can export React components, or you can chat with the crew. And this becomes a chat right away, but with all your agents in there. Where there's you can research, and then you want to share this with other people. You can publish, and now it's public. You can send this link to anyone, and anyone can use your agents. So yeah, sorry, I'm getting too excited, but there's a lot that we have been building in there, and we're slowly getting into.
That's impressive. If you're just joining us now, the founder of CrewAI is demoing an entire agent workflow and his Crew. Why did you name it Crew?
So Crew initially was kind of like this idea of many agents working together. That from the go was our kind of like approach that like for a lot of these use cases, you need many agents to come together for them to do different parts of role playing to actually kind of like get this work done. So there's a lot of what we have been doing from the get-go.
Wow. I thought you were into boating. I'm disappointed, but it's fine.
I want to talk a bit about, the crew, the actual crew at CrewAI. But before we talk about that, like most early stage startups struggle when they have enterprise customers to develop like new products, right? Because you get like pigeonholed into like your initial like product, right? How do
Yeah.
you all like go around that dance of like, you know, providing your actual product, but also like innovating for future?
Mm.
Well, I want to say that one, we do use a lot of agents ourselves. So no
Okay.
joke, that has been super helpful. I think like if we didn't use agents, like you saw many that we have in there, we'd probably need 3x the amount of people that we do now to like do what we do. So we are able to pull
Wow.
it off like a lot because we use a lot of automations internally. We do a lot of dog fooding. So that is one aspect of that. The other aspect is in again going on a tangent here.
No
If you
tangents, no tangents
We
here.
have time.
Yeah.
if
Please.
you think about like the agentic market, especially a while ago, right now people are more educated, but a while ago, if I went to sell into a company, like a big company, I don't know, Amazon, let's say I go say it to Amazon,
Mm.
right? And Amazon say, oh, this is great, we love this, I want to buy this, but Joe, how do I do tracing? And I say, oh
Mm.
no, for tracing you buy this other product. All right. And how do I do memory? So, oh no, for memory you buy that other company there. So we can see that like the amount of box checker features that you need to have for AI agents is way bigger than what you would have for a regular startup, right? So like you just need all those different kind of like box checkers in there. So I think closing enterprise customers from the get-go actually helped us because we got to build a bunch of those things into the product to the point that now I almost joke like we need to remove some of those stuff.
Mm.
Like there is a subset of things that we do exceptionally well, that is the orchestration, the building and all that. And we do have traces and we do have memory and we do have
Mm.
connectors, we do have all those things because they unblock the use case. But then the you can bring other things and plug and play. I think interoperability is the name of the game. So for
Mm.
example, AWS announced some great products recently, managed services, right? And you can actually integrate those natively within CrewAI. So if you want to like use some of those integrations, you can just plug that in and you're good to go.
Yeah,
So I
there's a
think there's a lot.
blog actually that Chris, if you could put it in the channel, building agentic systems with CrewAI and Bedrock when you have a chance, so people can
Yeah.
actually try it.
So I think in the end of the day, maybe we got lucky that our customers were not that needy or they liked it what we had out of the gate. So they did have requests, but those requests are valid. There was a hot second where things got a little messy,
Yeah.
and that was because it's funny. It's you get the smell of product market fit when customers are
Mhm.
like, you don't have this, you don't have this, I hate
Yeah.
this, you need to change that, you need to change that. And like, oh, I'm so sorry, that you're not going to become a customer. Like, no, we're paying for it, but we also want all that. And you're like, oh, all right. So it is a problem, but not that big of a problem. So
Yeah.
I think like there was a hot moment where that happened, and if anything, you just need to be very aggressive at qualifying what you need to do.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a lot of sleepless nights for everyone working at Crew. So talk to us about the culture at Crew. Like what's that been like?
Yeah.
I gotta say, we're very friendly on the outside. If people like everyone interact with us, like say, "Oh, you folks are super cool," and we are. But on the inside, we're very competitive. Like our internal conversations is always about like, no, we want to win. In the end of the day, like I think about everyone that I hired into Crew, and our whole idea has always been: this is not building a company. This is building an industry. It's something new.
Wow.
Like it's going to
Hmm.
change the way that people work if we do it right. So people are super invested into that. And they just like, honestly, in the end of the day, everyone in the company just wants to win. That's what we think every day. So yeah, we put a lot of long hours. I won't kid about that. Like some of the people in the team, they work long hours sometime. We always try to make sure that people can decompress and recharge and like they have the time to do that as well. But given the pace of AI right now, I think like, hey, every company has a time window. And
Yeah.
again, we're going on tangents, right? Every company has a time window if you really think about it. And if you do a
Mhm.
company long enough, you might have 2 or 3 or 4. The thing
Mm.
is, when you have that time window, everything is going your way. Customers are ready, the market is ready, the product's in there, and you got to decide what you're going to do in that time window. And that's super important. Some companies will decide to raise a lot of money on that time window. Some companies will decide to land grab, close as many customers as they can on that time window.
Mm.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong here. But what you got to know is once that time window closes, you need to be number one or number two. If you're not number one or number two, you're done. You're steamrolled. you don't get a chance to play it again. If you're number one and number two, you keep going, you get another round. So I think a lot of our mentality is like, hey, if this is our time window, that's where we work hard.
I feel like we should just clip that.
Yeah,
right there,
I'm feeling so
like,
inspired right now.
yeah. Look, I'm looking at the chat here, and I see a lot of people from like India, from Africa, from Brazil. Joe, you're from Brazil yourself, right? And
Yeah.
just I want you to talk a bit more about like being a founder from Brazil and coming into the US and conquering, being at the forefront, right? You talk about this time window, and you are actually like CrewAI is leading. Like, talk about what that journey has been like. What was the motivation there? What's your vision? Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, like when I started this from Brazil, I remember that a lot of my thinking was, what is the cost of opportunity? That was what led me to actually raise money and start the crew from Brazil. I was like, well, like this AI thing seems going to have a huge impact on the industry. Might be as big as the internet, might be bigger than the internet. Well, the internet was like third-ish years ago. So that means that another window of those is going to take another 30 years-ish, if so. So me not taking this chance now actually is a big decision. And I can probably give it a try to this. So my thinking was that back in Brazil, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to do it. And there was a side of it that was a little weird. For example, many people don't know this, but when a company got acquired like Clearbit, you get your stock, so you get paid some money because of that. But then you also get retention bonuses, right? So if you stick around, you get maybe even more money than what you get paid on their stock.
Yeah.
And I walk out from that. So I lost money on that. I was like, all right, I left that money on the table to start CrewAI because I need to hang out in HubSpot for a while to get that. Funny enough, our founders from Clearbit invested in CrewAI as
thumbs up.
And Dharmesh, the CTO of HubSpot, it actually is our biggest angel investor. He wrote more money into CrewAI than my retention bonus was.
What?
So, at the end of the day, because like that was turned out to be a pretty sweet. But leaving in Brazil and running this company from Brazil was insane. So I had to move to the US. I was traveling too much. It's just like, it's an 18 hours trip. And I would do like that every month, just back and forth. And it was insane. So me, my wife, a 3-month-old baby, and 2 dogs, all moved into the Bay.
Oh, that's amazing. And there's Carlo just put in the channel, thank you for the live. When you talk about the market is ready, which market? USA, Europe. So we're kind of having this global expansion on when Joe was ready to go to the US, but Crew in your global expansion and adopting that. And you said you were flying people out to Korea and flying people out, to get people stood up everywhere around the world. So how do you look at it from a global market perspective?
Well, I mean, unfiltered take here is there are certain countries that are moving fast, others not as much. So US is definitely leading the way. They're adopting a lot. I want to say Latin is also doing pretty good. There's a lot happening in Latin as well that is great. In APAC is starting to take off. So that's why we're like having a few people, like we're closing this major customer in Korea now. I think they're signing today. I actually had my VP of sales actually call me during the live. It's probably to give me a good news, cross fingers. So that means that, and eventually I would need to go to Korea myself because we're already talking about an expansion, and I would need to go to Seoul in probably September or something. But we are seeing it's a very global adoption. And I think that it's also a byproduct by the fact that we started with open source, right? So with open source, you have engineers using from all around the globe. And then those engineers bring that technology in their companies, and then their companies start using it, and then eventually they reach out to us, and that turns into a commercial engagement. So we're seeing expansion. So right now our team is spread globally. We have people in SF, in New York, in Brazil, in UK, in Spain, in Australia. So it's very spread.
Those are real people, not agents, right?
Those are real people.
It's so cool. And I just like love the culture. It's ringing in my head that you're coming to build an industry. And so I know we only have a few minutes left. I feel like I could talk to you about every single thing about Crew and everything. But I guess like, what do you feel like is next for Crew? And what do you see happening next? I don't know, open-ended.
Well, there's so much. Honestly, I think the more time I spend looking at our, like, sometimes I look at some of our data and metrics and adoption and growth, and there's usually two reactions. One, there is a reaction of gratitude. I'm extremely grateful, and I think like people that come from backgrounds like what I did. Like if I show you the house that I was born, like in kind of like the neighborhood that I was born in Brazil, like honestly, this is what winning feels like. Like I'm
Mm.
already winning, so no one
Oh,
can take this from me. So this is great. So there's a
Yep.
gratitude when I look at those metrics, and that is very deep from me. The other thing is sometimes there's little pain because I see the opportunity. There's so many things that I think we're still doing wrong, and we can do so much better. Yeah, the team sometimes like have some hard time with me because I really push folks. I say like, hey,
Yeah.
we could do more. We could do this. Look at the potential. Look at this number. If we just improve this screen, if we improve this conversion, there's more potential in here. So I think like it's coming from a place where I'm just excited. I'm excited about it. It is stressful. I think like people that are founders, they know this. Like if you work on a
mm,
regular job, you are concerned about the company, about you, about your metrics. But if you're
mm,
running your own company, there's going to be days and days. Days that you're going to wake up and you say like, how I'm going to handle this, right? And like
Yeah.
how I'm going to scale this and how I'm going to hire that.
mm.
So it's almost like every day you got to win it, right?
Yeah.
And you don't get a pass on one day where you can say like, you know what, I'm just going to clock in at 9 and clock out at 5 and it's going to be good. Like
Doesn't work
it
like that.
sometimes you want that and you can't. You just got to like it's 9 p.m. and you're like, you know
Grit.
what? I
Yeah.
haven't won yet. I need to win today before I go to bed.
At
Oh,
Amazon, we call that every day is day one. Every day is day one.
every day is day one again. Well, how I know we're like wrapping up. Like, how do I go and start with Crew? I know you have this amazing partnership with Amazon. Can we access through AWS? Like, how do
Yeah.
I what do you message to everyone watching? Like, how do they go build their first agentic workflow?
Well, so first thing, whether there's a few, you can think about CrewAI as a company that has two products. One is open source. You can
Mhm.
use that. It's free.
For
You go
free.
out there, you download, you can build these agents. It's more focused on
Yeah.
technical people, but we have seen many non-technical people build these agents as well because we took a very opinionated approach and convention
Mhm.
over configuration. So it makes it easy for people to just follow instructions and get something going. So that's great. Now we also have the enterprise solution, and there's a lot that we're changing that, and we're learning so much. I think that's
Mm,
a little early in the process, but all these customers that I mentioned throughout or kind of like live
mm.
have been doing this, and this is
Mhm.
great. So you can get access to that as well. But just keep in mind that we're changing a lot, and we do have a big launch coming in September where a lot of this will change. Like some of the new features that I showed you is just the tip of the iceberg. There's some crazy stuff that we're cooking. So very excited about that. If you want to try Crew, then you have two options. You can go the open source first and try that out. You can go into crewai.com, create an account, and get access to some of the things that I showed. The new studio is not out yet, but hey, if you want to have access to that, maybe reach out to like some of our folks. And
First
like there's a few
access.
forms in the website, and we can enable it for you so you can try it out yourself. So there's some of those that we are cooking. But I would say that's probably the easiest way. Just either open source or go in the enterprise. And about AWS, fun thing, the entire system that I showed you, it's running on AWS.
Ooh.
So from the get-go, we built everything in AWS from the get-go. We're using a lot of managed services. So we use Redshift, we use ECS, we use EC2, we use a bunch of different things in there. And we do have a lot of fun with that. So I would say there's that. And if you are an AWS customer, the other thing that I would say is if you go into an enterprise agreement, you can run the entire system in your own infrastructure in AWS as well.
Mm.
So we have many customers that are actually doing that, like some very strategic accounts that are actually running CrewAI within their VPCs in kind of like in their AWS accounts. So that is always an option. And a marketplace offering is on the horizon. I think people are just wrapping up a few details, but you also have a marketplace offer directly on AWS as well.
Awesome.
Nice.
Wow.
Chris coming to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Crew.
Yeah.
Joe, that was amazing and
Hey, Sky.
inspiring. Yeah.
Before you wrap up, I just want to say something, right? I
Go
just want to
ahead.
say, hey Joe, look, I'm so glad and I'm so excited about just the progress you've made since we last met. And I think about working at AWS and, working with companies like yourself, like seeing the grit, seeing the determination, but also just seeing how your story influences you to basically change the world and create an industry is basically inspiring. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you, like really thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Sky,
appreciate.
Oh, how do I
over to
follow up?
you.
That was so beautiful. No, seriously, I'm leaving this feeling really inspired. I hope everyone in the channel enjoyed learning more about agents and go build the next industry, Joe.
Let's go, crew.
Let's
Let's
do it
go, crew.
together.
Look at the fireworks.
That's so cool.
I
Thanks
love
everyone
it.
for
Great
tuning in.
timing.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Joe. Thank you, Dadier.
Happy
Thank you,
Friday,
folks.
everyone.
Happy Friday.
Bye bye.